For this paper, we had 2 case studies, and then one of them is looking at what's the difference of the use of fillers. What's fillers? So last week when we talked about phrase frames, it is something to, or the, of, the, things like this. So this is called phrase frames. This is the filler. Okay? They look at L1 and L2 writers writing in English, and then they found some differences. Meaning, for language learners, they sometimes they will use different phrases, different wording, so then the use of these frequent phrase frames might be different. And this is how we can see, what can we do to teach students, pedagogical purposes, okay? And then the other, okay, good, so we have NCON. NCON is useful, and then I would say if you cannot do programming, I think at least this one would be interesting, okay? Now, the other thing, Professor Geluso was trying to talk about the unit of analysis. I don't know if you're aware of that. The unit of analysis meaning, how do you count as one? What's the unit? So let's say, hello, good morning. Let's say this part, this is type, it puts type B study, and this part it puts type C study. That's just the name of different methodology, okay? Now, type B study, it means you look at, so the whole thing is one corpus. Look at me here. Type B, this part is one corpus. Type C here is one corpus. They both contain the same amount of tokens, if you calculate them. But when we calculate, if we do this one is called per text count. So let's say, how many count are there in type B study? How many count? The word count, right? So you will start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you will know, in average, there's only one, I don't know, less than one count in this corpus, in the text of this corpus. But then for type C, you cannot do that because you don't know how many texts, the number of texts are there. That's the difference. One more time. Type B, the unit is one text, although we have same amount of words in both. But type C, see all the text as one. That's what I mean by how do you, like, what does it mean by one? The unit, one unit. So type C is one corpus, one unit. Type B, one corpus, the unit is text number. So you will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, da, 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 da. How many texts are there? In this case, for type B, you can find the average. But type C, you cannot. You can only say how many certain words are used in this corpus. But this one, you can say how many words in total, yes, and what's the average per text. That's why this one is called per text count. This one is per corpus count. And to do stats, the stats that we did last time, remember there's a part that you need to look at how many certain words happen in NCON. You insert, and the rest of it you need to fill 0. That means because for those texts they don't have that word, so you need to put 0. Once you get once you get the information, then you can do stats. You can do t-test. Okay, at least t-test. For per corpus count, you cannot do that because you only have one number there. How many this happened or 2? What else can you compare? You compare 2 and the other corpus is 5. You don't really know what's going on. So from now on, it's actually better to do per text study, not per count per corpus count study. Okay? And then if you read this article, they show you why. It shows you why you should do per text count. Because sometimes it actually, the result is reversed. They were, in the study, they compared two corpus. They found significant for per corpus count. But then when they do per text count, there's no significance. Okay, and then what Professor Geluso did in class is what we wrote in the discussion session. In class, what we did last week is in discussion session about how you can get per text count. Because it used to be like people would say, for NCOM, there's no way you can get per text count. Because it just shows you how many. But then we figure out a way so that you can still do it by using NCOM, so that people don't need programming skills to do that, okay? So if you, I think what we did for class is sufficient for you to do your analysis for final project. I think that's enough. But if you need some references, this is a good paper, okay? Questions about last week?
They tell about that the web Corpora is large, but it's more less than control.
It's less control, yes. Do we want to use websites as Corpora? When we talk about the web, in this chapter they talks about two concepts. One is called web as corpus. The other one is web for corpus. Okay, tell me the difference. Or which one is what? Okay, let's start from web as corpus. What does it mean?
I'm trying to think of other examples.
Okay, clarification. Are we getting the search inquiries or the content of the inquiries? The search outcome of the inquiries?
The inquiries themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
we are
content.
getting the content of the inquiry. Okay, so when we say web as corpus, we don't care what it is. We just grab everything that we want, or we search certain things because we think it's important, or that's the thing that we want to investigate. So then we grab the information no matter what it is. Let's say we found 10 pages of Google search, we just scrape them. Okay, what could be the problem? Is this good? At the beginning, it's great. Because corpus is authentic text, right? How can you find so many authentic texts without paying? Right? If you go to a library, if you scan a book, eventually you cannot really show the whole world the whole book. But when you are using internet, everything's online. Basically, if no one is violating the law, everything online is free. So at the beginning, it's really good because you get authentic text so easily. However, what are the problems?
The quality.
The quality. What do you mean by quality? Let's think about quality.
Because you collect all, you don't know like the paper is with the good quality or not.
Mm-hmm. Whether the text is good quality or not. Okay, how do we define good or bad?
We say on the journal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So depending on the purpose, right? Let's say we want to collect news articles. Okay, so you search certain word like Trump. You search a word Trump and say news, and all the news about Trump are there. So maybe I'm not actually talking about the quality, but I'm talking about who wrote these news. Who? It could be reporters from CNN, or it could be reporters from Taipei Times. I'm not saying like these because they are non-native speakers, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm saying they might have different pattern of language use. And then you try to combine them see it as one corpus, then probably you cannot find the real pattern. Okay, so one, you don't know the content, you don't know the quality, or I would argue, you don't know the authors. Okay, but you may say there are existing corpus that we don't know the authors, right? But we assume those are collected in a balanced way. Okay, the person who collected those corpus, for example, we saw BNC, we saw COCA, they collect them in a principled way. Then we don't really need to worry about it. I'm talking about when we want to collect the corpus. Maybe it's not good enough. You can first, I would say, you can try out. You can say, oh, if I search this word, what would happen? What kind of information that I can get? You can use that as like a pilot. But when you are collecting your corpus, please don't just search. Okay, quality is one problem. What else? What could be the problem? Yes.
You don't know whether the text is edited?
Very good. So, edited is a problem. Think about this. There was an idea to use Wikipedia as a corpus. At first, people are like, yeah, we can do that, right? Because authentic text, people write it. But editing is a problem because everyone can go out there and do something. So probably the text is not really authentic anymore. Or probably it's not written by one author, we don't know. Then that becomes problematic. Very good. Anything else? This example is about what? Is it really grammar structure?
For example, if we search one word, it might contain all parts of speech.
Yes, yes. This example is about part of speech. You cannot, so for example, sometimes when you search something, you have a different part of speech or different meaning when you search. But most of people use that word in the common way. But you're looking for maybe a very distinctive way to use it. Then it's likely that what you get is not what you want. That's what I mean by this one. So let me give you an example. When I asked you to register for the corpus COCA, right? When you first type in COCA, what do you see? You go to Google search, you search for COCA. What do you see?
Some brand is alcohol.
It used to be Coca-Cola. It used to be Coca-Cola. But then, because right now Taiwan has a brand, Coca, then it becomes close brand. So Google doesn't think I need corpus. Okay? That means probably what you search is not what you want. Okay? That's why in Coca, later on we can try about it. That's why in Coca, these designed corpus platform or interface, they tell, you can specify what kind of part speech that you want to look for. You can specify that. Very good. What else? There are more, long time ago, there's something called Google Fight. Let's check if it's still there. Google Fight. Google Fight. Oh, it becomes Google Flight. Okay. Long time ago, there's a website. You click in it, and then you say, you put large and small, large and big. Which one is used more frequently? And it will show you the Google hits. Like how many times this word is used. But even though we don't have Google Files anymore, you still can search large, and you'll get the number. And if you put big, you can get a different number, right? And then tell me, which one is used more frequently? Large or big? Okay, go look for it. You have a hypothesis. I think which one is used more, and then you go search. Okay. You don't need to type too many words. You just type large and search how many hits. And then change to big and search again. Say how many hits. So tell me how many hits in large, for the word large. How many hits? What's this one again?
95,900. This is it.
Right. It's the same with this one. They're the same. Okay. And then the other one, search big. and see whether which one is, and see which one is a bit larger than the size. So big or large?
Big.
Big, okay. The problem with this is we don't really know how they count it, right? And then we don't even have the unit. Are you talking about one website happen one time, that's one? Or one website happen 3 times as one? We don't know. We don't know. And I mean, there's no way you can get all of them in all the content. Okay, so for that, it used to be fun, just to show students which one, quickly to see which one is used more, especially when we look at collocations. But one content was talking about unreliable page counts are often highly misleading, inflating results drastically. Meaning, we just look at it, but we don't really know, right? So no matter what they say, it's probably correct. Okay, and then I think one thing we haven't talked about is this one, unknown size. When we use web as one corpus, we don't really know what's going on. Do you know how many web pages has been generated per day? We don't know. So we don't know the all content, token counts, website pages. We don't know. Then it's difficult to say, it's difficult to do the analysis, I would say this way. Okay? So these are the problems with web as corpus. And then, so some people thought about the way, the tool Web Corp Live. That's on page 334. It kind of gives you a way so that you can search in the search engine box, and then you still can find quick lines, KWIC Finder, this type of thing. However, it doesn't solve the problem. Quantitative analysis is impossible without knowing total corpus size. We still don't know how many. Okay, if you compare, what we are talking about is this. If you compare page 333, this page, and page 335, this, probably this one is easier, right? This one is easier to look at it. But, so let's say if you want to teach students to use corpus to find how the word is used, maybe we can use this. But if you want to do corpus analysis as research projects, it will be difficult because we still don't know the total size. This is still problematic. Remember, when we talk about corpus, we need to talk about the corpus, right? First thing is, what's the total? And we don't have that number. Okay, so then the next step is web for corpus. Then what does that mean? Well, so we talked about web as corpus. The next we want to talk about what is web for corpus.
Web is the source of the data.
Web is the source of the data. Very good. Okay, but how do we, what's the difference between this one and that one? Are we still also searching in corpus? Oh, sorry, in website, in a search engine. But what's the difference?
But we collect the data.
We collect the data in principle. We figure out what we want to collect first, right? Like Sally was talking about journals. So you know, oh, you're looking for journals. And then you need to decide what kind of journal you want. For example, from 2010 to 2025. And then you want high prestigious journals. You want peer reviewed. You want maybe the publishers or the location of the publishing place, certain things. You have some kind of control because based on your purpose, based on your research questions. And then here, so I find it interesting. It says web as corpus shop. You see that? Meaning you get the information from the web. And I think that's totally normal these days. Okay, so that means you don't just search, but you try to find the information that you need from the website, and then you download them. You know, you collect them to become your corpus. Of course, you need to be aware whether they are really free or not. Remember we talked about the case of OpenAI, right? They got sued because a lot of companies think they didn't, they violate the rights or the law of others' possessions of the text. Okay. I think it's interesting. It says we have control of what goes into our corpora, making it possible to design a corpus that represents something meaningful. Do you remember the word representative that we talked about, I think, in week 1? We say a corpus needs to be representative because it's always a sample of the whole population, right? Once you can control, then you try your best to make it meaningful. Why do they think web as corpus is not meaningful? Okay, think about your other studies, the studies that you read in other class. You always say, oh, we have a class of students, 30 students, and then this is what we do with them. And then in the later section of the journal article, it talks about generalization, right? How can you generalize the results? What are they talking about? The sample is the 30 students that you have. You get some kind of results. Let's say, oh, this ad works. Then, would that work to all people? Right? So then you need to define. Define your population. Let's say one class is from, let's say, LPUST, right? So we are talking about technology. So we are talking about University of Technology and Science in Taiwan. We are talking about, let's say, Department of English. So how can you generalize this? To what level? Oh, sorry, if this is in NKUST, probably you can generalize the Technology and Science University in Taiwan. And probably you can generalize to Department of English. Probably, I think maximum you can generalize it to the Technology University in Asia, when the education system is similar, right? Can you generalize to students in the US? Probably not. But, so, Department of English, right? Because what's useful for us may not be useful for Mary. Mary is an undergrad in Department of English in the States, right? Okay, but maybe for L2 learners in the US will be useful. You need to define your population. You need to say, generalize. How can you generalize your result? This is not all for you human beings, right? We are talking about certain population, and this 30 is a sample of that population. Okay, that's how you can do generalization. Okay, come back to corpus. When you collect a corpus, that's sample. And then what you try to do is to make it meaningful, make it representative enough so it can represent the population. Although we're talking about text, we're not really talking about human beings in corpus situation. Okay, this is really human beings, but they use the same word. That's why it's a little confusing. They are using this and this. So this is the corpus that you collect. and then you try to be representative of the real population that you're looking for. So let's say I collected 10 stories, and then I need to say what kind of population that I want to mimic or represent, okay? And then for this part, it gives you some tools that you can use to get the information online. For example, Bootcat, do you see this one? Bootcat. It can be used just like software, and you click on it, and then you say which seed words that you want to use, and then it will grab information from the internet. However, I don't think this is the best way to do it, because first of all, I mean, just this is based on my experience. Unless you already have a theme. If you already have a theme, then you know the seed words. If I'm looking for journal articles, I'm going to download from the journals. I'm not going to find the seed words because they may be too many words. And then I can rely on the keywords of journal articles, right? And then I can download from there. I won't do this. But if you have a good way of using this, I think it's fine. It's fine. So this is one application that you can use. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about data processing. So once you get the information, so you find the keyword, here it puts web crawl. Web crawl is basically grabbing information, scraping information from the internet based on what you need. And then you need to go through some text processing, meaning there must be some kind of noise in the data, and then you want to clean it up, and then you want to annotate the corpus. Annotate could be part of speech, could be other things. Okay. So here's the pipeline of text processing. And it's on your, I think it started from page 338, okay? Boilerplate removal. Think about this. You know like HTML files, right? HTML files. So you know those brackets, those H1, those A, perf for links. Those are boilerplates. You don't need them. Those shouldn't be your content. So you want to remove them. And then second, probably you need to look for, it says document filling. So for example, something very short, we might not want to use it. Or here it says minimum 2,000 tokens, but it really depends. For example, for students writing, we usually say if it's more than 100 words, then we will take it. However, so you need to go through literature and see how many words would be appropriate for the threshold. Okay, and then the third one is duplicate removal. So see, we collect data, but we don't really know what's going on in there either. Then we need to make sure there's no duplicates. Okay, and then it gives you some tools to use. So maybe, I mean, this book is not too old, so they still provide some useful tools. But I don't know if we have like newer tools to use. So maybe you can search for that. Okay. And then the last one is annotation, meaning more information that you can add to the text. So tokenize, lemmatized, POS tagging. And then it says web data is noisy, too many noise in there. So then tagging accuracy could be dropping. Okay, but this part is fine. Now tokenize meaning split the words. Remember, I don't know, we talked about words should be splitted, right? Because computer cannot recognize that. Lemmatize meaning go back to its original form. So I say read, read, reads, reading. These are all read. Okay, that go back to the original form. Okay, and this will help you to find more concordance lines, more hits. Okay, so these are useful web Corpora. If you want to do research, you can look into them as well. Okay, so for the final project, I'm not saying you have to collect your own corpus. I think it's too much work, seriously. Or if you guys really want to collect your own corpus, and then you can have like people in pairs, in groups, so that you can have different topics on the same corpus. I think that will be fun too. Okay, we can, or for example, if let's say in this class we just compile one corpus, so all of you collect information, but all of you do different research questions. That will be okay too. Okay, so we can talk about that later. Okay, but just give you an idea. So these are existing ones. You can just directly search in there. But that also means there are so many papers already published based on these. So you need to find something that's not been done yet. The research hasn't been conducted yet. Otherwise, you already have the answer. Why do you need to do it? Okay. For this one, when I saw this, I think it's interesting. Do you know that people also collect Twitter or Facebook posts as corpus? And they look for certain things in there, and that's very interesting. However, several years later, Facebook or Twitter found that people are doing that. So they kind of restrict them. They put in like things that, so then even you're using API, you probably cannot do, you cannot get a lot of things. So if you're interested, maybe go look for Twitter, for example, Twitter corpus that already exist, and then you can work on it. But we always need to look for legal or ethical issues. We don't want to be, in trouble. Takeaway. Web is not a corpus. You can use it for quick search. I think that's okay. Quickly get some information, especially, let's say you are tutoring students, and you really don't know what's going on. I mean, but for example, when student asks you, why do I have to say it this way but not this way? Yes, as native speaker, you'll be like, yeah, that's how it works, right? But for non-native speakers, are like, okay, so we can just memorize it. Probably. We talk about take medicine, right? 吃药, and then in Japanese, it's drink medicine. That's the language. And then we don't know how. There's no way I can explain that. So the student need to memorize, but students don't like to memorize it, so you need to show them. Okay? Then you can quickly use web search. Now we like web for corpus this idea better because we have more control. Okay, but when you collect data, make sure you do the cleaning part, text processing. Okay, and then of course in the future they hope that Google scale search engine, meaning that much text, can be used for research. But for now, I think as long as we do our research, we collect our corpus in a principled way. I think it's fine. It's fine for this class. Okay. When I found this article, I really liked it because it's new. It's published in 2024, and it's a review article, meaning it look at the past, the corpus-related journal articles between 2010 to 2019. So then I thought it would be useful for you guys to read this one, then you understand what the problem is, what's the trend, and what could be the problems in the past. Got it? Okay, that's fine. So I think it's quite useful. And then this paper mainly talks about 3 research questions. Let's look at them. Page 66. Methodology 3.1, the present study. And you see 3 research articles. Number 1, how well reported are important aspects of corpus design? So we know that we should describe the corpus, but how well are they reported? Such as population definition. See, I was talking about this here, right? Population definition. Corpus size, sampling method. So sampling method is how did you get this sample? And then in corpus linguistics journals, articles between 2010 to 2019. Number 2, what are the characteristics of corpora used in corpus linguistic journal articles when they are recorded between this period of time? Number 3, what trend exists over time in reporting practices and characteristics of corpora used in corpus journals between 2010 to 2019? Okay, and then they look at and then they talk about how they obtain the article. They do have some criteria. Okay, so if you look at 3.2, it says sample I was not confused about this because they put 3.2 sample and then 3.3 sample. Did you see that? So I thought maybe the first one is about the population and the journals that they look for. So they look at the journal citation reports, and then from the language and linguistic subjects, and also the scopus. These are the index. These are the information place that you can say which journals are good. So we don't want random journals. We want the journals that's really prestigious. Okay, and then they look at, so they have this criteria. And then in the end, page 69, in the end, the resulting sample consists of corpora used in articles published in 3 corpus linguistics journals. Corpora, the International Journal of Corpus Linguistics, and Corpus Linguistics and Linguistic Theory. Now, I'm telling you this because for those, when you are going to do the presentation, you are going to look for journal articles by yourself on the same topic, and these could be good places for you to look at. Okay? Okay. And then, of course, and then for each journal article, they label or annotate this information to look at each article. Then they were able to answer the research questions. So that's the methodology. Okay, that's their methodology. Interesting thing, it says reliability between coders was calculated in the form of raw percent agreement, so just accuracy. Inter-rater across is about 95.5, and the lowest is 92.4, so it's good. So what I'm trying to say is here is that this is actually a type of research. This is called review research. You use the materials. The materials or the data you are looking at is the journal articles that's already published, and then use a certain way, and then you write a research based on that. Okay. So, and I think they found interesting things. So this is the activity that I want you to do. So I want to group you into 2 groups. This time I'm doing this one. So one group here and one group here. Okay. So each group you will get identical, same questions. These are just true or false questions. I want you, if it's true, please tell me, please write it down on the paper, what's being said in the article, and also the page number. If it's not true, do the same. Okay, then you tell me what's the correct answer by showing the quotations and the page number in the article. Okay, and then because we have 2 groups, then we can compare our answers later. Okay, so we have 12. Okay, when you write it, make sure you write it big enough so we can show the young people. The winner will get the point. So we'll start from questions, and then the 2 people who take this question will first do paper, scissors, stone, and the winner will start talk about it. If they already know the answer, great, then they get a point. So we take turns. Okay? So this is first question. This study analyzed more than 700 descriptions of corpora. Is this true or false?
So the answer is true. Since this corpora from research published in Corpora journal between 2010 to 2019.
And how many did they collect?
And they analyzed 709 descriptions.
And then where did you get this information?
I get this from page 59.
59.
The third sentence.
Third sentence?
Yes.
Okay, the abstract, in the abstract, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And Lawrence, do you have anything to add? No. every corpus study clearly stated exactly how many work tokens were used. Who got this question? Still you two? Let's give Lawrence the chance. Okay. Yes, Lawrence, what do you think about this question? Is it true or false? False. Why is it false, and where can you find the answer?
Page 75.
Page 75.
4.6 number of patents. Line
Where are we looking at? Oh, 4.6, number of tokens, and then what did it say?
416 of the 709 Corpora elements did not have the total number of tokens reported.
So about 58.67%, right? And that many study did not present the number of tokens, although I think we need to know, okay? And then there are two more sentences. Corpora range in size from 1,146 tokens to 155 million tokens. So that's the range of the corpora being collected. The median number of tokens was about 1 million words, 1.5 million words. Okay, so this is just to show you if we want a very, how to say that, if we want to really publish a paper, I would suggest that you have some kind of tokens here. But for course, I think it's okay. Lower will be okay. Okay. Do you have anything to add?
Page 78.
78.
The sixth sentence.
The sixth sentence.
We can assume that all corpus results are equally stable due to the quantity of words. Not all studies report the number of tokens.
Yes, where are you? Let me see. Page 68.
Is what it says.
When you say line 9, you start from here?
6.
Yes, okay.
Report the number of tokens.
Yes, okay, good. So that's, yes, correct. This is good. Okay, so what we are doing here, we are looking for evidence to support the answer for the question, okay? Okay, so we get 1 point for the right. Next. Next is this one. Representativeness is considered the core factor in determining if corpus research is valid. Who got this question? Mary? And Lawrence again? Okay, then.
True. Representativeness is central to the validity of corpus research.
And then where did you find it?
59.
Page 59. That's the first page. And where? Which line or which?
The first introduction paragraph,
Mm-hmm.
and it mentions an article from 1993.
Yes. But then does that mean no representativeness means no corpus research? What do you think? What do you guys think?
Representativeness is central to the validity of corpus research.
Yes, so that's where this sentence comes from. Yes?
On page 60.
Page 60.
Line 6.
Mm-hmm.
They say what they can represent as well as what information is available about the corpus design. What they can represent as well as what information is available about the corpus design.
Start from the previous page. Okay. In the end, Egbert, 2022, surveyed 30 corpus and described their level of documentation, considerations to their domain, and distributional representativeness. Okay, so they look at whether the corpus were collected in a way so that it can be representative, and then the results show that although these corpora, okay, next page, these corpora are very famous. Like you can search online and you can use them. They all have limitations as regards their design, what they represent, as well as what information is available about the corpus design, meaning they don't document enough. Basically here, it just means they don't document enough. Okay. Okay, so I think one, representativeness is important. When we try to say this is representative, we define the population. We need to define the population. And then this is telling you, although these are very famous corpora, probably they did not say enough about the representativeness in their documentation. That's why they're listed here. Okay, very good. I do like yours. More than half of the studies failed to explain how they chose their language symbols, the sampling language. They're missing or kind of not clear about their sampling method. Who had the question? Roy and.
So the question is true.
The answer is true for this one. And where can we find the answer for this one? Page 76.
Paragraph 3.
Wait. Paragraph 3.
And line 2.
Line 2. Okay, please read it aloud.
So several corpora is described as contingent language, but did not provide any specific into what register their understanding of general language.
So this is more about description of the corpus. This question is mainly about how they chose their language samples, about methodology. Okay, so Roy, what's your take on this one?
Page 72.
Page 72.
And 4.2 sampling methodology.
Just a second. Page 72. And then sampling methodology. What's it about?
So there are 57% of the COCA analysts didn't report on the sampling method used.
Yes. So you can see that more than half, right? Like 60% almost, that did not report on the sampling method. And then if you look at this in a PDF file, you can see the colors, right? And then you can see that how people use different methods. These are different methods for data collection. So you can decide which one you want to use when you collect your own corpus. Okay? So I think Roy get a point. Here. If a study uses a very famous corpus like COCA, the author does not need to explain why they chose it. Got this one?
Answer is false.
False, and then we can get the answer.
79.
79.
The last paragraph and
Last
line.
paragraph. Okay.
Even though well-known corpora provide more opportunity for research to seek resource for additional information on corpus design. The important thing is that we encourage authors to still include information about why the corpora were chosen in the analysis.
Very good in the analysis. Okay, so why is very important because, for example, we have COCA, we have BNC, we have other corpus, right? That I saw you today in the web corpora. That chapter they provide that many. We still need to tell the readers why you choose this specific COCA. And for example, also in COCA they have different sections. Remember, we look at it. We say they have journals, they have business, they have news, right? So why are you using news from COCA instead of collecting your own news corpus? You know, you always need to say why you think COCA, for example, is a better choice. Okay. And then also Mary, right, for this one? No, Eileen. Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay, Eileen, yes. What do you want to add? It's the same? Oh, okay. That's good. Then in this case, we'll be given point. Okay, almost done.